So yeah, you got the whole floor. I really appreciate you being here. I'm inspired with all that I've heard about you, and perhaps you could give us a bit of your bio. And if it's okay for everyone else, we'll just keep ourselves on mute, uh, and then we'll have a Q&A in about 35-40 minutes. Go ahead, Adam, please.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, I appreciate the opportunity to chat with you guys. And, I want to keep this casual as well. So as things go, if there's anything that I share that piques your interest or you have a question around, feel free, because I am going to share some elements of my experience with my own health, things that I went through and found solutions to that I know will be different from a lot of what you've heard before. And so I know some of it's going to resonate and some of it's not. But when you do notice things coming up in your own mind that want to question things around what I'm sharing, please feel free to ask the questions. And I'll try to use the chat a little bit as well, just to engage as we go. But knowing that we have, 35 minutes or so, I want to be very mindful of that time and provide you with some powerful info. Now, I am going to share this based off of my own experience. And it's really important that I let you know that in no way am I saying that other methodologies out there aren't efficient and don't work. But what I am going to express and share is coming from my own personal experience and now having coached on it. So I've been in the holistic self-care wellness space for 15 years. And it comes from my own experience and my own journey into healing myself. And so it all started pretty much right from a very young age. And, the moment I was born, I had an experience with stress that was never managed, was never taken care of, was never nourished. And there's an element for most of us that I didn't realize, and I know now, that there's this experience that we have when we're born that the brain locks us into the stress response, which predominantly talks about the brain starting to use our stress hormones to feed off of it, to get the energy that it wants to survive. And I know from a very young age, I was not given to a parent that understood co-regulation, that understood how can they use their nervous system to teach my infant nervous system how to feel peace, how to feel calm, how to feel love. And so what that did for me, not having that co-regulation experience as a young child, it led to me starting to have looping thought patterns, especially as I got into my, let's examples of, I was bullied as a kid, and, and that energy definitely became a large part of my youth experience, because I never understood how to manage my stress response to it. And I didn't have any guidance on it. And so I started having a lot of thoughts right from a young age in my childhood, of unworthiness, and really questioning, what's my role here? Why can't I feel happy? Why am I so upset? And, as I had more and more experiences with my family dynamics, my father wasn't fully present. There was elements around that experience for me that was very much not a bullying experience, but a belittling experience. And so I got locked into patterns of thinking, especially related to self-worth, that had me becoming very, very dependent on addictive behaviors. And as a child, there's really predominantly two addictive behaviors that are not illegal, that are pervasive throughout our culture. And I'm going to ask you guys what you think those are. If you can throw them in the chat, what are those two that you know of that fit that bill?
Eating.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, sugar, smoking, coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And my go-tos were screen time. So any screen that I can get a hold of. And back then there wasn't the cell phone like there is now, but it was still, I sat in front of the TV quite a bit. And sugar. Sugar was my go-to. And it got to the point for me where I was in probably in my teens when I was diagnosed with ADHD. My mom really, my parents went through a divorce, and I really had a hard time managing my own daily stress response. Was suffering with what I would self-diagnose as a teen as depression. I started to notice that I had more panic attacks. I started having a lot of anxiety, and my mom not knowing what to do. Right away we started doing some counseling, and then I was put on Ritalin. And I was 13, 14, and I wanted to be that kind son. I wanted to do everything for my mom to make her happy, because she was going through so much life stress, and I didn't want to cause trouble. My sister's a bit older, and she was the one that kind of went off the rails a little, really reacting in ways that weren't very pleasant, and I was just doing my best to stay out of the way. And so when I was given Ritalin, it really changed my way of being, and it, for me, it really wasn't a pleasant experience. And after a little while, I asked my mom, "Hey, listen, I really would like to not have to be on medication, but I do recognize that there's something going on with my own biology that I have no control over." So, the experience for me in relation to my own health, it didn't really change. I was told by a lot of practitioners back then that, okay, Adam, you need to start grounding yourself more. You need to get outside. You need to play, try some team sports, try some different activities, try going on a very particular diet, try going on these fitness programs, even meditation, which as a child, meditation's a tricky one. And then nothing would stick, nothing would work. And I kept feeling pretty depressive thoughts. I did manage to put myself through school, again, really focused on being a kind son. I didn't really put much energy into myself. All I did was I focused on, how can I please my mom? How can I please her? How can I get her love? How can I get her affection? And again, I know now that has a lot to do with not the fact that she wasn't there for me in a present way, but she didn't know how to manage her own nervous system stress response in a way that could help my nervous system feel peace, feel love, feel calm. Co-regulation, right? It's all about co-regulation. And so I grinded through school. I did 4 years of university. So I graduated from York University with a degree in sociology. It was not fun. I wish I could look back on my years in school and say how great it was, but I was suffering. And I ended up doing a postgraduate. I did an extra year at Seneca College, right at Finch and Dufferin area, or Finch and Don Mills. Anyway, and that was for a business degree. And so I came out of school, just no clue. What am I supposed to do with my life now? I've done what society has told me I'm supposed to do, and I am miserable. And at the same time, my health was taking a bigger decline. The daily depression, anxiety, ADHD was leaving me in a rut where I just had no idea, what am I supposed to do to feel better? And I didn't know, in relation to occupation, I didn't know what am I do now? And so I was fortunate that my family took me into the company business, which gave me a little bit of direction, but that ended up being a very traumatic experience. And right away I was, being a family business, if anyone's ever been in a family business before, it's a tough one. And I had a bullying experience with my own uncle in that scenario. And that drove me into more addictive behaviors, mostly around food. Yeah, sure, a little bit of alcohol, but it was never to the point where I knew there was an issue there. It was mostly just around eating lots and lots of sugar. And I would hide myself in my bathroom at nights, and I would plow through big packages of gumballs and all sorts of ways just to get this pleasure response that I didn't understand why I kept craving it. And I got to the point where I didn't know what to do next. It was kind of like that rock bottom moment. And I remember I was about 25 years old, and I walked in my doctor's office, and he said, Adam, listen, and I went to my doctor a lot. It was one of those pieces that I needed. I needed to go to him once a month just to hear him tell me everything's okay. There's an element of what I was experiencing where I had to know that he was giving me that that thumbs up for the next month. But this one time the thumb wasn't up. And that was where, for me, it was like, oh boy, okay, this is real serious now. And he said, Adam, he said, listen, we did your blood, you're at a point now where, yeah, you're only 25, 26 years old. And I was already on some medication for other ailments, but here all of a sudden he said, Adam, you're pre-diabetic. And if you don't change the course you're on, you can be insulin dependent within about 6 months. And that was the slap in the face that I needed. It was that rock bottom every day, just lost in my own thoughts, just always wondering, how am I going to fix myself? How am I going to get there? Why is this happening to me? What, I imagine some of you know those thoughts. And when he gave me that prescription for Lipitor, which is high cholesterol medication, I walked out of the office and I said, man, I'm 26 years old. This makes no sense. Why is this happening? And I remember I walked into a coffee shop. This was right around Bathurst and just for context, I know you're all Toronto folks, but Steeles and Bathurst, those interact, don't they? Somewhere in that zone. That was kind of like my old hood area. And I remember walking to a coffee shop and I just looked around and I can kind of sense how others were living. And one woman beside me had a medical bracelet for a food allergy. There was an older gentleman with an oxygen mask on. And, it kind of dawned on me, like, there's an element of my own health and wellness that I haven't taken ownership over. And I recognize that there's so many elements that we all have to kind of connect with in a way that we build a deeper relationship around if we're going to find the right solutions. And I kept relying on being told what to do. I need to take the medication. I need to do this. I need to do that. I said, okay, I'm not going to buy another gym membership, because every gym membership I ever bought left me feeling frustrated and guilty. All right. And the same with every diet I ever went on. Every diet I ever went on left me feeling frustrated and guilty. Anybody know anybody who's ever been on a diet before? And that for me, is like, I'm not doing it again, because it just disrupts my nervous system and creates more stress. So I got very lucky. And this is where my life changed. I got very lucky because a friend of mine and I both were feeling quite unhealthy. And we both didn't want to buy that gym membership. So we said, well, let's try something new. So we bought some rollerblades and we went downtown Toronto. We're rollerblading all over the place. And it was at that moment that things shifted for me. And it shifted for me because I stumbled upon a new sport that I had never tried before. And it wasn't rollerblading, but while we were rollerblading, we stumbled upon an indoor rock climbing gym called Joe Rockheads. Now, I don't know if anybody has ever tried rock climbing before, indoor or outdoor, but the moment that we got there was something about it that intrigued me. And I said, wow, I really want to give this a try. This is really cool. And we got into the Joe Rockheads. This is back in like 1998. It's kind of dating me a little bit. But I got in there and I felt panic immediately, and the anxiety, the pattern of anxiety that I lived with hit me pretty hard. But I still said, I got to try this. This looks too cool not to try. And I got on the rope. I got halfway up the wall and I had a panic attack and yelled at my buddy, let me down. I can't do this. I can't do this. But there was a little spark of something that I felt that I've never really felt before. And I didn't know what it was, not at the time. And so I said, well, sure, I panicked, but I felt almost safe inside of that reaction for the first time, where I felt like, whoa, wait a minute, there's a contained energy in this room that I was able to play with that for a moment. And then I was able to come down and I was okay. And so I said, wait a minute. So let me try it again. And I tried it again and then again and again. And every time I tried, I was able to do a little bit more, and I was able to connect. And I was able to connect to my biology in a way that I had never done before. And if in hearing me and what I'm sharing, what's your sense in the chat? If you can type in, what do you think I was connecting with that maybe hadn't been fully engaged in the past? Yeah, awesome. Yeah, Jason, breathing. the trust in your capacities. Yeah. Passion for life, breath work. Yeah. So there was an element of what I was starting to tap into, which gave me freedom from thoughts, utilizing my breath in those moments where I was sure it was indoors and I was grabbing plasticky holds, but there was still something about my ability to manage my stress response in that moment that nobody had taught me before. Nobody said to me, hey, Adam, in all my years of suffering with my anxiety, my ADHD, and just the thoughts that just wouldn't stop, nobody ever once said to me, Adam, it's about honoring and managing your nervous system stress response in the moments of life that you're being triggered, in the moments of life. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Okay, there's something about rock climbing that's allowing me to manage my stress response in the moments of life. That transformed everything for me. And so I'll shoot this forward a bunch of years, but I spent 3 years immersed in climbing. I became completely addicted. I didn't know any other way to feel this way other than being inside or eventually going outside and being on the rock outdoors. When I started to take rock climbing outside, it was really powerful how I was able to start to live more predominantly inside of my calm parasympathetic rest and digest state, the nervous system state, and recognizing more and more of the pattern of my stress response when life was happening around me, that I was able to say, wait a minute, I think I could actually use the same tool that I'm using climbing. I can bring it into everyday life now. Wait a minute, why have I not tried this yet? And this is, again, 3 years later, I said, I have to move away from Toronto because it was really intense for me. I immediately went over to a town called Golden, BC, small town in BC, just into the BC border. And I started to train to become a mountain guide, a rock climbing guide. It's like, this is it. I'm fully in. But it was in that process of doing that training that I started to climb at a very high level. I had learned how to manage my stress response to a point where I was going up mountains, but not just like the side ridge of a mountain. I was going up the face of a mountain. I'm standing, like, we're talking I don't have any pictures I wish I could share, but hundreds of feet of exposure below me. And every time I was doing this, I was doing it because of how I was able to manage my stress response to it. And I just loved it. I couldn't believe that I could have this much power. Now, the shift came when I started to teach what I was learning about my own ability to manage stress, when I started to come back to Toronto in the off seasons. And this is 2002, 2003. I was starting to come back to Toronto during my off seasons, which was the fall, the spring and the fall. And I was teaching my family what I was learning. And it was in the teaching of the management of nervous system and stress response that they all started to realize, wow, there's something powerful about what you're up to. And they gave me the encouragement to shift gears and say, well, why are you training to become a rock climbing guide? Why don't you teach this? And so in 2005, I moved to Squamish, BC, to be close to Vancouver. And I started to train corporate wellness for executives and employees, how to manage their daily stress response. And the methodology that I've been teaching now for 15 years is based off of understanding that our nervous system and the power of our nervous system comes from harnessing its energy in the moments of life. In the moments of life that we're being triggered by the process of what the mind is up to, we have the power to reset it. And at the same time, we have the power to shift the energy of what we now can use as what we want to live as and feel as. Now, this is where I'm mindful that what I'm about to say is quite different from a lot of what's been said out there, because I have never heard anybody talk about it this way. But there's an element of this that does rely on belief and faith. But this is a lot to do with manifestation and law of attraction. And there's an element of law of attraction that you hear about the method. Okay, so I'm supposed to put some energy towards feeling a certain way and feel it as if I own it now, and then it's supposed to appear. Well, not quite, because manifestation is about the nervous system. The nervous system is filtering every moment of life. Every single moment that we have is being filtered through the nervous system. And the nervous system is always vibrating. It has this beautiful energy that gets sent out into the quantum field, universe, God, whatever we call it, it's always working. Now, the thing is that if we're working from a disrupted state of mind, then you're going to continue to attract that vibration. The missing piece for me was understanding that, wait a minute, so wait, I can work with my own nervous system in the moments of life. Yes, rock climbing, but then I can bring the same tool, which is a breath practice. It's a 33-second reset nervous system breath practice. And I can use the same breath practice I'm using on the rock. I can bring it into everyday life and have a choice of how I do want to feel in this moment, instead of being reactive to what my brain keeps telling me. Not only did that start to heal me, and essentially what that means is, in the moments of my life where my mind used to create stories about my health, about my relationships, my finance, my career, I had the choice to no longer let it trigger me. And when I did the heart flow breath practice, which is what I'm going to share with you guys, what that started to represent, and what I recognized that does represent, was a very powerful act of self-love. But not only that, it was the co-regulation that my brain has always wanted. Using the nervous system to co-regulate our own brain is something that nobody had ever told me about, nor did I ever have an idea that that was something we can do. But all my brain wanted was to feel loved in the moments. It was using my thoughts, and on average, we have 70,000 thoughts a day. And so as I got more in tune with how my mind was still working off of old triggers, old patterns of thinking to get me to give it the adrenaline, and I created space to feel my nervous system in the calm, beautiful space that is available, and trained myself to live there. Every time my mind tried to disrupt it, I was able to reset it and give it the love that it wanted. And it started to let go of more of the thoughts that kept holding me down and kept me stuck for 20, 30 years. And so I'm sharing this with you just in a way where it's really important that we understand that the nervous system is a living energy, and it will predominantly guide us to experiencing more of the same feeling that we're holding in it. And if we're feeling frustrated, and if we're feeling angry or feeling agitated or feeling uncertain, you can be sure that you're going to attract more of that into your life. And if we want to create a shift with this experience, we need to work with the nervous system in the moments of life. All right, not in a tomorrow concept of, yeah, when I wake up at 9 o'clock tomorrow, that's when I meditate and that's when I feel calm. Okay, I'm not knocking meditation, but that's a future focused vibration. What about right now? I want to feel calm now. I appreciate that I'm going to learn from meditation, but there's an element of using this moment right now and resetting your nervous system in this moment right now. That's far more powerful from my experience than anything I was ever told before. And so I share that with you guys so that you know that there's a couple of tools available that work immediately to recognize this space, to recognize the feeling it can bring. And a lot of it has to do with recognizing that you're in a place where you can use those types of tools. And this is only for those of you who have tried lots of things and aren't getting really to the level where it's making sense, because it's supposed to make sense. It's supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be very difficult. I think a large part of it is just having the right tools. And for the longest time, I didn't have the tools. And now that I have the right tools, like I mentioned, if you're committed to using them, they work 100% of the time. And I've been coaching on this for 15 years. 100% of the time it works and the results are based on what is it that you're committing to? What is it that you want from it? And that's what you get. Now, there's an element of the commitment to this where it's not hard work, right? There's an element of it where it has to be easy. And, there's the two key tools that I want to share with you guys today. All right. Now, if you want me to share these two key tools with you, and this is all aligning, can you just give me a yes in the chat so I know you're still with me? Awesome. Yes. Yes. Anita, Jennifer. Yes. Yes. Jason. I love that one. Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, guys. So The two key tools, and I'm going to share them with you, but there is an element of this that's important to recognize. Now, when you start to put these in action, they're only going to take you 10 minutes a day to start to notice and start to train your nervous system. It's like a muscle. It just wants your attention, but it's not like you need hours and hours or lots of days and weeks and months to get this to work. It's immediate, and it's 10 minutes a day. That's it. Do you have 10 minutes a day to commit to yourself in this way? Throw another yes in there. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to give you the tools. Now, the preface on the tools is that, yes, sure, they're going to need possibly more explanation. And obviously that's what the Q&A, we can dive into that a little bit. But there is a challenge around this. And the challenge is that as soon as you begin to put these two tools into action, your brain is going to get angry, possibly, not everybody. Your brain is going to get upset. All right. Because there's an element of the way it's designed that it likes exactly the way it's being fed, its survival energy, the way that you've been feeding it. And so when you start to reset your nervous system in the moments of life, and I'm going to throw this in the chat, see if anybody can come up with this. Why would your brain get upset? What's going to shift the minute you start to reset your nervous system in the moments so that it's not being triggered? What's the brain no longer going to get? Yeah. Control, similar feel. Yeah, something familiar. Adrenaline. Yeah. Awesome, guys. Right. So, and that's quite right. Now, so if we take away all the thoughts, the constructed thoughts about our health, relationships, finance, career, which has no meaning whatsoever, it's the construct of the mind, then it's just pure biology. Well, what are we gonna help to balance immediately? And it's your hormones. Your hormones are going to start to balance immediately. You're going to start to decrease inflammation immediately. You're going to start to have a enhanced mitochondrial function, the battery packs of your cells. Your immune function is going to go up. Your cognitive function is going to shift, where you're thinking cleaner and clearer, more focused, more motivated, because of the way your nervous system is allowing you to heal and thrive in that moment. Right? But the brain is going to get upset because it's not getting the same amount of adrenaline and cortisol. So there's a process to this where, yeah, for sure, coaching, guidance, support, 100%, you need to have some structure on that. But it's also being a student of your own behavior. Because as soon as you begin to do this process, you have to be willing to stay committed, because the practices are not hard, but your brain will try to use the thoughts to sabotage the ability to keep growing the space so that your nervous system can heal and thrive in the parasympathetic. So all we're doing is, you think about the 80-20 rule, 80% of our, and I talk about, this is my book here, by the way, it's called The Power of Food. That's another discussion. But in that book, I talk about the 80-20 rule. 20% of my diet is plant-based. The other 20%, I get to eat what I want. Well, it's the same with the way I want my body functioning. 80% of my nervous system, I want living in the nice, calm, parasympathetic vibration. The other 20%, yeah, okay, I let my brain, Adam, go get that cookie. You want the cookie, go get the cookie. All right, brain, I hear you, but I'm going to go get the cookie because I want one. It's okay. But the way my brain used to work, where it was 95% whatever it wanted and 5% in the calm state. We want to really start to shift the scales so that we can feel the difference. And when we begin to feel the difference in our own nervous system, it gives us the power to choose. And that's the goal, is to be able to notice the feeling your calm parasympathetic nervous system produces so that you have a choice. And now I want to give you the tools that when you notice your mind in the way that you don't want it to sabotage, you now have the right tools in the right order to create freedom around that. Now, if that sounds good for you guys, maybe just come off mute for a second, give me a yes. Let me hear some voices. I feel...
Yes.
Yes, indeed.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. Yes. And how are we for time? So 10 to, awesome. So let's dive into these two tools. Now, they work in conjunction with each other. The first one I call heart flow. Now, heart flow is a breath practice that I did discover from rock climbing. So I'm not regurgitating a methodology. I have never heard anybody, and if you guys have, please tell me. I have never heard anybody once in all my work, all my studying, all my training, all the Esther Hicks, Joe Dispenza, Tony Robbins, nobody has ever talked about working with the nervous system in the moments of life. I've never heard anybody ever mention that before. If you have, please let me know. And that'd be really cool to know who else is out there that gets this. But the first tool I want to share with you is one that I did learn from climbing and then brought into my everyday life. And it's a 33-second breath practice in the realm of neuroscience. What makes this breath practice so powerful is the fact that it does reset the nervous system. And what it's doing is it is helping the vagus nerve create coherence. So from the gut to the heart to the brain, it's creating a very synergetic, energetic connection between your nerves in a way where it tells the brain to let go, right? And when the brain lets go, it allows you to think cleaner and clearer and feel more into the intuition, the natural elements of connection to nature and to our natural way of being, which we've lost a lot of connection to. So the breath practice itself, and so just so you know, based on the science side of it, yeah, somebody wrote down heart math. So awesome. So heart rate variability is the science part behind that. Now, heart flow is, I've just branded it as heart flow because it's the heart rate variability in connection with a few other pieces that I've added in that have worked really well for me. And so I want to invite you to practice this with me now, and then we can, in the Q&A, we can chat a little bit about it and hear what you notice. But just know, if this is the first time you're trying it, great, it's the first time. This is the actual tool that if you practice this 3 times or more every day, 3 times or more, that's less than 2 minutes a day. That is all that the nervous system wants. That's all it wants. But it has to be done in the most present way possible, right? And so essentially what the steps are is, the first step is putting our hand on our heart and just feeling into the intention. Why am I resetting my nervous system in this moment? Ideally, if you're not in the car, you close your eyes, but I used to use this breath practice. Back in my Toronto days, I did have a lot of road rage. I did have a couple of wrestling matches, the corner of Finch and Dufferin. So just know, if you can close your eyes, it adds extra vibration and extra commitment. And then the key here is the rhythm. And the rhythm is what helps to create coherence for the vagus nerve. And so the rhythm of this breath is 4 seconds in, 7 seconds out. And I know there's lots of different breath practices out there, hundreds, and they're all fantastic. This one is very specific to creating coherence in the vagus nerve so that the nervous system resets and co-regulates our brain. Tells the brain, hey brain, I'm okay right now. You don't have to use that thought, you can let go. And so we're going to be doing 4 seconds in, 7 seconds out, ideally through your nose. As far as the production of oxygen goes, you can inhale through the nose and then out the nose or out the mouth on the outflow, either one of those. But as long as you're going through your nose on the in, is great. Now, if you can't do all 7 on the out, don't worry. This does start to flow with more ease, just knowing this might be the first time you're doing this, but it will get easier as you commit to the practice. All right, so what we'll do is I'll leave you guys for a moment to do this on your own, 33 seconds, right? 4 in, 7 out, 3 times. Get really comfortable, close your eyes, put your hand on your heart, link to a reason why you're committing to this. And then as soon as you're done, your own flow, we'll come back and we can chat about it. Okay, awesome. All right. Awesome. Didn't hear any snoring, so that's good. So maybe if we could come off mute, anybody who wants to share, what did you just notice?
I'm not sure that I did it correctly though. I'm not sure though. So
Yeah.
maybe I'll have to maybe someone can show. Okay.
Yeah. So the questioning, like, was it correct the way I did it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Isn't it funny how the mind does that? Right. Now there's a trust in this process. Just all that's really, really important in relation to the results is the rhythm. As long as we're doing a clean rhythm, and you can count it if you want, but it does become very intuitive the more you practice it. It's almost like your nervous system starts to call you in a way where you create a rhythm that works for you to reset it. What this rhythm is going to do is just going to train you on that feeling so that you know how to recreate the feeling. All right. So if your mind's saying, I'm not sure if I did it right, just trust that it is right. And all you want to do is the rhythm. Right. And what I can do, Wayne, I have a training on this, a video that I'm happy to send you guys for free. I'll send it to Wayne and then he can maybe email it out to you. And it's about an 8-minute video that guides you through the process really easy for you.
Thanks, Adam. I see Shuba has a question, and Jason had a question earlier. Is it okay
awesome.
to a couple of questions first, Adam? Thank you. Shuba, go ahead, please.
So I noticed that taking 4 breaths in was easy, but on the way out, it was a lot longer than 7.
Yeah. 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 You mean it was hard to do the 7, or you could do more than 7?
It was hard to do it, like hard to exhale within 7 seconds. Like I was counting in my head and it was more like 10, or like, because I would be taking these deep breaths in and then by the time I was like exhaling it out, it was more like 10 or 12 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really just playing with our own biorhythm, with our own breath. The more that we play with this breath, the more you're going to find a clean way to do this where it starts to flow with more ease. If you can use the 4-7 as a guide to get yourself there. Now, somebody mentioned HeartMath. HeartMath does have a device called an M-Wave. You can do this on your phones too. This is based off of heart rate variability. You can track it. I don't track it anymore, but there was a time where, and I have a device, and I'll show it to you. There. I actually, my daughter, who has not been diagnosed, we choose not to put a label on her in that way right now, but she definitely has anxiety and ADHD, and she uses this. So this is called an M-Wave 2 from HeartMath Institute. And what it does is it does the 4-7 for you in a light feature. And so it kind of just goes up and down. You clip it to your ear, and it helps train your variability watching this go up and down. And as you keep the breath in a rhythmic cycle, the colors change until you hit a green, and then it beeps like you won the game. So it's great for kids, but it's also good for us, knowing that you are going to need to train your nervous system to allow your breath to work this way. It's not our dominant setting. Does that resonate, Shuba?
A little bit, yeah. So sorry, you said it was called HeartMath, like mathematics?
Yeah, so it's a pretty popular, let me put it in here, HeartMath Institute. You can Google HeartMath Institute, and that's a really popular
and you can order this device off of them?
You can order it off of them. Yeah. Yeah. Now it's something that I don't, in my coaching practice, I never really share that. I'm just sharing it knowing that it is a powerful tool for training your ability to use the breath practice. But just trust that the more you commit to this, and again, 3 times or more every day, you're going to notice that the rhythm is going to start to find a pace that's working, because the result you should notice, and it should be an immediate result of feeling more peace, more calm, a little more clarity, because the executive function starts to work differently.
Thanks, Shuba. Thanks, Adam. Pippa, and then Jason. Pippa, go ahead, please. Let you unmute yourself, Pippa. And yeah, great.
Hi, and I'm sorry I was late. I was having trouble logging on. My question is like, I mean, yeah, I can see how this is really effective. When I'm swimming, I find that can help a lot. I kind of get into a zone, I guess, because of the depth of the breathing. I don't know if you've ever heard that from.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So there's an element of the work that I do. I'm not here to sell anything, but I have a program that's called Unleash Your Energy. It's a 3-month commitment to doing this work. Now, the initial work is about just building the core foundation, which is the heart flow breathing in the moments of life. The second half teaches you all these beautiful ways to play with that energy in a way where you get to feel your nervous system even more. Swimming is one of those. You know, you think about water, cold thermogenesis is another one, using cold water to train your nervous system. It's become very popular. I've been doing it for many years. It's super powerful, but it's not, those are the elements of it that first, when I started to manage my mind in the moments of life, that was really what got me to a place where my nervous system was healthy. Then I started to add in the other ones that just started to flow with ease. And I think swimming is such a beautiful tool to play with your own energy in a way where it's real. You know, flow states. It's like the runner's high, which I know a lot of us, you know, you've heard of that statement before. That's what this is.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I like
Pippa.
how your method doesn't need technology.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a holistic way to do this. You know, the label of how I got into this initially, there's a term called biohacker. You know, the idea of somebody who hacks into their own biology. A large part of that movement uses technology. I don't, because I just go by how I feel. Yes, is this a piece of technology? For sure. Do I need it? No. Was it helpful for a moment? For sure. But there's an element of how I show up for myself now where I just don't let my brain sabotage my nervous system anymore, because I have the tools that work, and it just so happens that they're in line with nature. You know, it's coming back to what's natural for us as humans. You know, we have a lot of cultural norms out there that we think, you know, things that we think are normal for our biology that aren't. You know, and I don't want to go off too much here, but why am I wearing these? Any idea?
Blue light.
Right?
Right.
Blue light is one of the most destructive things on your brain. You know, it's just and it's an easy hack, right? It's like, okay, $100 pair of blue blocking glasses, and now I have way more mental energy, and my nervous system isn't being disrupted from doing these sessions on Zoom. You know, we have a lot of those. We have a lot of those that once we clean those up, you start to feel the difference. And then once you also work with your in the moment response to life, you start to realize, wow, I have a choice to feel unbelievably amazing every day. And that's what I've tapped into. Now, I'm not sure. Do we have another question before I go to the next tool?
Thank you. Yeah, Jason had a question earlier.
Awesome.
Thanks, Pippa. Jason.
Yeah. Well, first off, thank you for just sharing this wisdom with us. It's kind of interesting, your story, and just kind of some of the things you shared. So with your breath work and rock climbing, for me, in a sense, I think I learned it a little bit through golf, like kind of that thing. But I had no idea that you could train your brain to stay in more of this like flow state. So I guess my question is, like practicing the breath work, it's 4 seconds in. Is there any pausing kind of in as you're doing it? It's just
No.
continuous?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I mean, this might get a little thing, but can you feel, as like for me, when I notice that my nervous system is kind of like calming down, I almost feel towards the side of my brain. It's almost as if a shiver, like you're shivering, but then you're releasing. Is that kind of like the tell of you slowly like easing back into like equanimity?
Yeah, there's an element of this which comes into the next piece.
Cool.
Right? Because And yeah, so I'm going to answer that with my next, and if I don't, please come back and ask me again, because I think what I'm going to share next is going to answer that.
Amazing. Thank you, Adam.
Yeah,
I
you're
think,
welcome.
Jason, before the next, I think just David Alwyn Jones had a question, please.
Yeah, I was just thinking that because I had the heart math um, year thing and all of that, and it was great in the beginning, but as I was traveling, I lost it, and then I just kind of stopped doing it. And what I like about your process is it's completely autonomous. Wherever you go, you have it with you. You don't have to run back into the house because you forgot it.
Totally.
And I think that's probably for me the most powerful idea of what you're doing, is that it doesn't rely on electricity or anything else. It's with you wherever you go.
Yeah.
And
I
I think
appreciate that.
that for me is like huge.
Well, and and there's another part of this that's so beautiful, is that you get an immediate result.
Yeah.
And that just, to me, it's like, well, yeah, just of course that makes sense. It's like I'm working with my own nervous system. It's the most powerful act of self-love to tell my brain that I love you. I love you. You don't need to trigger me right now. You can let go of that thought. I'm okay.
Exactly.
And it's like, wow, okay, I get to live feeling this way. That's pretty cool.
These last 2 years of not being able to do my job, and it was like when I do my makeup, I get into that flow state, and not having that access to it has just flattened me out these last couple of years. And having this thing that you've brought to us, I just feel like it's such a huge gift.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, so let's extend this, because there is the next piece of this, which does fall into the idea of manifestation. Again, this is just how it happened for me, and I couldn't believe it. Obviously, you have the physical and mental benefits that you will notice immediately. The more you practice it, you're gonna get in tune with the feeling of the cognitive benefits, the level of focus, the motivation, all those pieces are going to come back online, and then the biology, the hormone balancing, and the mitochondrial, so that you're just going to feel physically more capable. But it's the extension of this. So knowing that the nervous system is a vibrating part of us, the thing is when we reset it, so we're resetting it using heart flow, and ideally we're doing that again 3 times or more a day. Now, in that moment that you reset it, it's vibrating in energy. So based off of what your brain just told you, it has you feeling something. So for example, my brain, my daughter, when she gets really agitated, my brain goes, oh, let's react back. Come on, let's feed off of your daughter here. Come on, say something, be something, tell her she's this. And then, so for me, it's like, okay, whoa. Let me connect, right? Because the feeling I was having of agitation has a vibration to it, which then will lead me to attracting something else very similar very quickly, that's going to have the same feeling. Maybe with my health, my relationship, my finance, my career, in some capacity, it's going to show up again. But now in that moment, I reset it. Now here's the thing, the nervous system, always vibrating. If we now don't have something to replace it with, what does the nervous system vibrate? You've just reset it. What's it vibrating? We're very good at knowing what we don't want. We're not very good at knowing what we do want. And if we don't know what we want, the nervous system is going to vibrate uncertainty. That's step 2. We have to replace the vibration now. Right? So number 1, you're resetting it. And then at the same time, so now you're doing your heart flow breathing. And while you're breathing the reset, you're also starting to bring in the feeling of how you want it to be. How do I want this to feel in this moment? So if you're having a conflict with your partner, or a conflict with a work thing, or whatever it is, that's what you now want to connect to is, man, I love my wife so much. She is the best. Wow. You know what? All the beautiful things that you want it to be is what you want to feel next. And just know and trust this process that you will then start to attract, and this is that feeling, Jason, you're going to attract back to you very quickly the feeling that you've just used in your nervous system to reset with. Does that resonate? Now, the key with this too is it's regardless of outcome. The mind loves to go to the outcome. It has to be this way. It's supposed to show up this way. That's not how it works. The nervous system works in feeling. You're going to attract the feeling. So just pay attention and keep noticing when your brain's trying to trip you up, and reset it, feel what you want to feel, and notice, because I guarantee you, and this works. Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. It works 100% of the time. But it takes commitment, because the brain doesn't like it.
This is fascinating, fascinating. Thank you, David, for the question, getting us on track. Ajantha, you're next, and then Jason has another question, then Shuba.
Yeah, thanks, Win. So, Adam, so when you're doing the 4-7 breathing technique, like, I mean, I'm assuming that we just need to focus on the breathing. There's nothing else. Have a mind to just focus on the breathing. That's it, right?
Yeah, and your mind will, you know, there's a couple of dominant things that it wants to try to say to you, right? The thoughts will pop in. What do you guys think the thoughts are going to be? There's kind of 2 or 3 dominant things it's going to start to say about this. What's one?
When does it work?
Right? Right? Oh, this isn't going to work. This is too easy. 33 seconds.
Yeah.
That's the one thing it'll say, is that it's not going to work. What's another one? Anybody want to type it in the chat?
It's not going to last.
Not going to last. Yeah. And the one even before it's not going to last is it loves to say, well, one, it's not going to work. Not going. I don't have time for this.
Yeah.
I don't have time for this. 33 seconds. What? No, I don't have time. Really, honestly, like for me, it started to show me, and I'm mindful of the language I'm going to use here, because it's not like, I love my mind, but there is some lunacy to the thoughts that I had no control over. And when I started to do this work, it started to make so much sense of what the brain actually was doing. And it's not the brain's fault. It's designed to survive. If I can remove myself from all the meaning that I've put on my life, I could play with my brain in a way where I can use my nervous system efficiently to give it the love it wants, so it didn't use those thoughts anymore. And next thing you know, but there is that commitment, because the brain is going to try and tell you all sorts of things. And that's why there is this initial phase where you have to know it's going to get upset, because you're not going to be feeding it the same hormones. And so it's going to say, this isn't going to work. We don't want to do this anymore. You did it for a day. You felt happy for a day. Don't worry about it. Let's keep going. Or you do it for 2 days or 3 or 4 or a week or 2 weeks. That's why my program, and again, I'm not selling the program, that's why it's 3 months. You want to be fully immersed in this for 3 months with really strong support structure around you. Really strong, with others who are doing the same work, so that when your mind tries to pull you, you're with a group of others who get this, because it's real. It just takes a commitment for the initial phase until you realize that this is a choice you have.
Thank you. Jason, go ahead, and then Chuba.
Yeah, mine's kind of follow up on the question I kind of asked earlier. So as you're resetting yourself, and then now you're replacing it with what you want to think and feel. One thing that I noticed that I did, and maybe this is just now you'll confirm, like, just don't do this anymore, is my brain wants to test. It always says, well, I wonder if it's gotten strong enough now. And then instead of replacing it with what I would think and feel, it kind of feels a little bit of what it was just feeling, to see if I can like overcome it. But then it just reels me back in, and then it'll just say, oh, this isn't going to last. Or is that, am I essentially self-sabotaging it, or am I screwing it by trying to feel what I was feeling before?
Yeah, the way that I do it is I separate my mind from the experience. All right, so I'm fully immersed in feeling into my nervous system how I want to feel in this moment. And for me, what that experience is, definitely the mind might pop in and start to create thoughts, but most of the time, and obviously this takes practice, the thoughts are very serving. They're very creative. They almost lead to, how can I serve myself even more? How can I be a source of service to others because of how I'm now feeling in this space? But it really comes from connecting to how I want to feel and how I want to be in this moment, trying to be free from thought. Right? Doing this practice, it gives you the space to let go of the thoughts in a way where you can feel differently, to where when the thoughts come back, you recognize that they're not the same patterned reactive thoughts anymore. They're actually more focused, more clarity around them. I don't know, it might sound a bit hard to explain, but
I think part of it now is you just have to experience it. But what you've explained so far is amazing. So thanks.
Yeah, and again, I do a lot of coaching calls with folks who are just trying to figure this out. Is this for them? And I get it. I mean, it's like, you get to the point where this isn't known out there. Yeah. It's like, why is it, like, it's kind of crazy that it's not, but so I'm trying to sell you on a feeling experience that most of the population has never been able to tap into.
It's crazy.
Right? But if you hear about the methodology, you think to yourself, well, that kind of just makes sense. How come we haven't talked, regardless of how come it hasn't been part of our toolbox yet, it's here now. And it's not hard. It just takes the commitment to practicing, because the mind is a funny thing.
Appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason.
Thanks, Jason. Shiba.
Hi, thank you for taking my question. So my question had to do with the second part where you said, now that you've kind of reset, using your vagus nerve, you've reset your nervous system, make sure that you replace it with the intention that you want, but don't be attached to the outcome. And I think this is where I tend to stumble, because I'm like, well, if you're not attached to an outcome, then how do you know it's working? Like, what do you mean don't attach to an outcome? So,
right?
So are you saying, like, I can use this to attract the love of my life? Well, what if the love of my life, is gone? Can I magically bring him back into my life? And if he doesn't come back, does that mean that it's failed? Like, so could you kind of explain what you mean by
I love it.
don't attach to the outcome?
Yeah. And thank you so much for asking this question, because it's a construct of the mind, right? The mind wants to have the details, thinking again in terms of our health, our relationships, our finance, and career. That's the 4 dominant ways that it constructs meaning about how we show up in life. Mm-hmm. That's not that's not how we get to engage in life in the most abundant way possible. The way that we engage in life the most abundant way possible, at least from my experiences, is through feeling. And if we can trust that all we really are looking to do is continue to feel the best that we want to feel, to me, I don't care how it shows up. But the mind wants to, it's like, oh, I think it's supposed to show up this way, and it should show up this way, and I want it to be that way, and I want to have this. When we want something a certain way, we are vibrating an energy of lack, and you will continue to manifest the feeling of lack. If you want to feel abundance in your relationships, the only way to do that is to keep holding what that feels like for you without needing it to be that way, but trusting that you're going to continue to attract the feeling no matter how it shows up. If you need it to show up a certain way, it's going to disrupt the vibration of it. Does that make sense, Shiba?
A little bit, but I guess I'm still having a hard time picturing what that means.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I guess it's like, okay, I think I understand you're saying don't, kind of don't be focused on, Mr. X, try and just focus on the fact that, okay, I'm feeling all this abundance of love and it will come to me, but then I guess I'm just having a hard time picturing it. And yeah. I think if I understand you correctly, you're saying it's not magic. It doesn't mean that, your ex is gonna come back into your life. He might, but you've got to be open to the fact that, who knows, maybe it'll come in some other fashion, like either another person or a puppy or I don't know, a kid or something else. I don't know.
Right?
Am I right? Like
You're
I don't know.
100%, because because the doing this work in the moments of life where we're being disrupted is the most powerful act of self-love possible. There's
Mhm.
no level of work we can do on ourselves that is a higher vibrational act of love than doing this. If you just construct that in your mind for a moment and you go, yeah, that makes sense. In the moment that my brain is trying to disrupt my vibration, I now have an ability to reset it and bring in the feeling of how I want to feel.
So
What stronger act of self-love, which then, though it does correlate into the feeling of that for you, and knowing and trusting that that's what you're manifesting more of. And it might show up as a new puppy, it might show up as a person, it might show up as an email that somebody wants to hire you for something you didn't expect, and all of a sudden you just got $100,000 in your bank. Whatever it is, it's going to feel very close to the feeling you're holding in your nervous system as much as you possibly can.
and so don't pass up those opportunities because you're looking for it to manifest, like you're looking for
Exactly.
it to look like something, but
Exactly.
okay.
Now you can manifest it. So for example, my book, this was a manifestation. I wanted a best-selling book. I wanted to be on stage. I wanted to rah everybody, and I did it. I attracted it. I stood on 400 plus stages, hundreds of audiences, hundreds of people. It was all an addiction that I didn't notice. Right? I wasn't as far along in this process as I am now to know that this is way more nourishing and way more self-loving, because you guys are getting my overflow, than when I used to stand up on stage. On stage, it was me fueling myself off of the energy, the adrenaline, thinking that I'm in service, but yet it was very self-serving because I didn't understand the detachment from outcome piece. I wanted the big audience. I want to be on social media like everybody else. I want to have the biggest YouTube channel. I want this. It's like, what is that? It took me a long time to figure that one out. And now I love my book. It's beautiful, and I know it's serving a lot of people. But I know that the way I show up in this moment, in this exchange with you, is the most beautiful thing and the most exhilarating feeling that I get to have.
Okay, so sorry, I don't mean to belabor the point, but I really want to make sure I understand. And
Totally.
I think that if I understand you correctly, what you're basically saying is that it's not like magic. You can't just necessarily manifest something. Like it may happen, but it might not also happen, and you have to be okay with it. Sorry,
No,
I'm
it's okay. It's totally okay. And I love that and I acknowledge you for being willing to engage and ask these questions in this way, because this is a powerful opportunity that you don't want to let pass by. Right. So
Mhm.
good on you for continuing to ask for clarity. Listen, in the coaching program that I have, like I say, there's people after, a month that are still asking and hearing me say the same things. And they're like, oh, it just went to another level. Oh, I just got it another. Oh my. So it's this evolving energy around this. What I will say is that when you do work with your nervous system in the moments of life, reset it to what you want it to feel like in those moments that you're being disrupted, and you notice and you choose to change it by heart flow, reset, feel how you want to feel. You will begin to manifest that feeling back.
Okay, so focus on the feeling, not necessarily the abracadabra. This is what I would like to see.
Right. That's right.
Okay,
And
so
that's a big part of what's missing from almost all manifestation law of attraction work in the world.
okay.
Right? That's the how-to. What I just gave you is the how-to of what's missing from that practice.
Right, because I mean, whenever I would hear the law of attraction type of stuff, I would say, like, to me, that just sounds like bogus, nonsensical magic, rub Aladdin the genie lamp, or like it just sounds like you know, or I'm gonna go pray on a mountaintop and chant, you know, these mantras 1,000 times, and
Right.
God's supposed to appear and grant my wish. I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, you
Right.
know, this is it sounds like some fairy tale, you know, nonsense. And so I would always dismiss it. I would get really angry actually when people would sit, like, talk about this with me, because I'm like, you do realize that's not how life works, right? You
No.
can't just you know, cut out some pictures and post it on a cardboard thing and like, yeah, that's gonna happen to you. You have to make it happen, is what I would always say to people. And
you
this is the first time
yeah.
I've heard anyone say, well, this is how you can make it happen.
Well,
is
the
not
only
by-
way is through a co-regulated mind. You
Right,
have to
by
co-regulate your own
focusing
brain
on the feeling.
in the moments of life. That's the only
Right.
way to really know how real this is. But like I said, you get results immediately. Now that's the thing. The next piece of that is, yeah, you have to be ready to take action. You don't just sit on the couch and, you know, notice your mind and reset it and just sit there. No, you're going to manifest. So, but you're also going to have the mental capabilities to deal with it. That's the beauty of this. You're going to have your executive function working again, because that's what gets shut off when we're in fight or flight. First off, get yourself a pair of blue blocking glasses. I wear them 24/7 when I'm on a screen. That's step one. But then every time your mind is tripping you up, you reset it, you feel what you want to feel, you're going to notice really quick, there's something about this that's working. Cool.
Okay, thank you so much for clarifying that. Just talking through it really kind of helped me understand. Sorry to monopolize
No
the
sorry.
time.
Please, no sorry, for sure. And, you know, again, this is the first time that I know I do this a lot. It's the first time that most of the folks I talk to have heard anything like this. Again, it's kind of weird. It's like, well, why isn't this taught in every school? Why isn't every adult before they have kids taught this? You know, how we should all know how to co-regulate ourselves so that we can be that for others.
Well, that's your next job, is to lobby the government, the educators, to put this in the school curriculum.
Well, I'm going to attract the person to do that for me. I want to be on my mountain bike too much.
All righty, let's talk.
Right on. I love it.
Thanks, Shuba. I think Shuba should also spend 2 months in BC, but that's my own bias. David, you had a question for us, please.
Oh no, it was more of just a comment that like for me, in those moments when I get myself into more of a flow state, it's kind of like I don't really like water. I don't like, and when I go to the beach, I really have to like negotiate myself, and I find that if I just relax and trust that my body will float, I can enjoy myself with my daughter, getting into the lake and all of that. But water and me weren't good friends. I had like a bad experience with somebody who should not have been taking care of me and tried drowning me. And I always have that panic whenever water hits my face and that. And I'm gonna start using this technique even in the shower. When it hits my face, I get that immediate automatic response of like, ugh, I can't breathe, I'm gonna drown or something. So I'm really happy to hear some of this technique and listen to other people's experiences. It gives me hope that I'll be able to conquer and manage these issues that I've been having. So
that's great, David. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you. If I could just, thanks, David. I like what Alan had written down, where focus goes, energy flows. I guess you got that from Tony Robbins. Thank you for sharing that. It's been a while. And Ajitha, you raised your hand earlier. Would you like to ask anything?
Yeah, I was actually so on piggybacking on Shubha's those questions. I was wondering whether like an example would be good. Where I'm just trying to think like we have a situation like suddenly you're in a panic mode. Whether I'm just giving an example. And suddenly you're wondering, okay, when the next bill is going to be paid, and then you have these, heart rate rising, and then you practice the breathing technique here, right? But then your second step is you're detaching yourself from the outcome, which means you're not looking for a result, but as you're looking for focusing on the feeling, what comes out of the breathing technique, right? Which will calm yourself down, and then whatever may happen beyond that, then it'll happen, as opposed to forcing your brain to think this is what you need to do now next. Is that something that?
So awesome. That's so great. And I appreciate your explanation of that, because the brain loves to seek outcome, which disrupts the nervous system vibration and puts it in that energy of, I don't have that yet. That's not my reality right now. I need to go get it. And you'll keep attracting things that you're just out of your reach. Finance is the biggest one for most folks. Yes, obviously we want the ideal relationships, we want our health, but finance for a lot it's always just out of reach. And it's because of our brain's love of looking for fixing. And when you do this process, it's really important that you release the need of the outcome so that you can see how it's going to bring the abundance to you in ways that it's wanting to. We disrupt it, and so we don't get to play with this.
Right. Okay.
And again, like I say, this isn't about years or months. It's an immediate experience. It just requires that commitment. And if you can commit to it. Now, I do want to, if I can, Wayne, I'm gonna share with you guys two options here, or two possibilities. Number one is, I'm happy to share some of my one-on-one time with you guys. If you are ready to commit to this process, then 100%. And I'd say maybe, like, if we say 24 people, just say the first 6 folks who want to share some time with me one-on-one, just shoot me an email. And I'm going to put my email here, adam@clearimpact.io. Shoot me an email and just share with me a little bit about yourself and why you want to do this, right? Why you want to commit to this work. But please only send that email if you really are ready to commit, okay? The other one, though, for all of you, if you want to share more time in this kind of energy, I'm launching next month some online virtual events around sharing this information more. So if you want to stay connected to this energy, those are free. The call is free too. You and I can share some time one-on-one. But the virtual event is going to give you a chance to immerse yourself with this energy, but also with some of the folks who are doing this work. And when you hear it firsthand from them, it's not just me. You're going to feel it from others who are living it in the moments in a way where you can see them in yourself even more, which ups the commitment. And also just the knowing that, hey, there's a way to do this, that it's easy and it works. So also, if you want to come to those events, when I launch it next month, just shoot me an email to say, Adam, I'd love to come to your virtual event. And if you want to get on one of the one-on-one calls, just email me that saying, hey, this is why I want one of the calls. Wayne, was that okay?
That was awesome. Absolutely. Of course. Yeah, no, I do find this fascinating, and I really appreciate what you're having to offer. I think, Jason, you asked a question in the chat earlier. He's asking you, Adam, if you could put some highlights on about your book, the essence of your book, The Power of Food.
Yeah.
That made you a rock star.
Yeah. Well, the book, again, being a manifestation, but it came from my work in when I started to train to become a rock climbing guide. At the time, I was pre-diabetic, and I had a very heavy sugar-based, fast food-based diet. I didn't really know or understand cooking or preparing my own food until I was in my late 20s. And then when I did, I discovered that it was another one of those addictions, but yes, it was a healthy one, but there was an element of it where I loved the experience of, I would be training for rock climbing. So I would mostly at the gym, and there was TVs at the gym, and I started watching the Cooking Network, and I got so inspired. I would go back to my house and I would prepare a bunch of things that I just watched on TV, and then I'd started to share it with other folks. And there was this interaction that started to happen with other folks where they started telling me how good this was. And I realized, over the years, that what I was after was their approval. something that I know I lacked from my father. So I became addicted to going back, playing with food. How do I make these, all these different recipes and make them maybe a little different, share them with my friends? And they kept telling me, man, you're so good at this. These are great. What's the recipe? And it evolved. And next thing I knew, 4, 5, 6 years later, I self-published this guy, E3 for Life. So this was my first self-published book, and it was just based on what I was learning around nutrition, because nutrition was another way that I started to play with my nervous system, starting to play with cravings. And the more I added in plant-based food, not eliminating anything, still to this day, I eat everything, but I started to add in more plants. And then I started to work with my nervous system through climbing, and I realized, wait a minute, I'm attracting these plants into my life. I'm feeling the desire to eat this food and this. So the number one food that I started to crave more than any other food, maybe I'll ask you guys if you want to know that food, just throw a yes in the chat for me. What's the one food? And this became my number one nutritional food for 10 years. And awesome. Thanks, guys. Yes. Hemp seeds, hemp hearts became my number one nutritional food. And I started to add it into everything. And I started to realize that when I was working with my nervous system in this way and resetting it and feeling so healthy and so alive, I didn't crave the big, huge steak anymore. I don't crave steak at all anymore. I eat meat, but not steak. It's just not something that I want. But the hemp, all of a sudden, it found a synergy in my body that spoke to me, and in a way where I actually could pay attention to go, this is a really good food for me. And it just became, anyway, hemp is a big part of this book, but also then I dove into 24 different foods that I manifested. And I talk about the different foods, all 24. And then I share recipes, over 100 recipes, based off of the ways that I started to use those foods creatively in my life, and then obviously eventually for my family as well. So that's what the book's all about.
Adam, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you eat meat, like steak or pork, chicken? What do you eat?
Yeah, I have a very close relationship with some local farmers, family-based farmers, and I get all my meat from them. And I don't I don't pick just one or the other. It's almost like we have a freezer full of beautiful meat that they've raised on their farm out here in BC, in a town called Lillooet, and it consists of everything. A little bit of venison, a little bit of pork, a little bit of turkey. So it's all part of my diet. And really, again, it's just, what do I crave? And it's really important to recognize that digestion is such a beautiful way to communicate with yourself, and as a conduit to the nervous system and the brain, that there's never one diet that's great for everybody. It's the silliest thing to think that we should all be on the same diet. It's an ebb and flow. And the more we can connect to our own feeling in the moments, we attract what our body needs in the moment, that we can then go after that. And so, just as an example, the last week, I just want to eat eggs. It's what I'm craving more than anything else, is to just eat some eggs. And so that's what I'll eat. And I don't crave the sugar like I used to, that's for sure.
Good. Shuba asked in the chat, are you talking about raw hemp seeds?
Yeah.
Adam?
Yeah, shelled. So without the outer hull, the outer hull is pretty hard. I mean, you can eat it, but it's not fun. But most of the hemp seeds that you buy in the grocery stores or at Costco, wherever you go, they're shelled. And hemp seeds is also known as hemp hearts. It's the same thing.
Thank you. And I think Ellen, you had a follow-up question, I believe.
Yeah, so Adam, your story really resonates with me. Trying to please your parents, and the sugar and screen time. I think I still struggle with it to this day.
Yeah.
I also work for a family business, so I lose it a little bit too. But
oh boy, that's a hard one for sure.
But my question was, what can you give us some tips on trying to curb that sugar high, that sugar addiction, because that's a tough one.
Yeah. Yeah. And the only thing that works really sustainably is to pause in the moments before you react to it. Right. And so in the Power of Food book, I do talk a lot about, and that was kind of for me too, it was like the evolution of what am I discovering about my nervous system? And it's all about the pause. It's all about the reset. So I started to play around with this. This is quite a while ago, but I love shortbread cookies. That, outside of Snickers bars, back when I was a sugarholic, when I was at work, that kind of morphed into shortbread cookies, and then I could go through a box of them no problem in the cupboard. And I got to the point where if I didn't pause before I reacted to my mind's desire to go grab the cookie, I was in trouble. And it wouldn't stop at the one cookie. It would be the whole box. And then I would feel miserable, and it would last for days. What I started to do was, in the moments that I was craving it, I allowed myself to get to the cookie and hold it in my hand. And then I said, okay, Adam, you're allowed to eat this, but you have to reset your nervous system first. Okay. And then after that, you're allowed to have it still. And then I gave myself the freedom. I was like, okay, this is not a restriction. I'm allowed. Okay. Now let's just do heart flow. Connect to how I want to feel. How do I want to feel? Okay, great. Awesome. Now I can eat the cookie. The thing is that in that process, obviously I gained strength. I gained more strength and more strength and more strength until the point where I was doing that. And it was very easy to then look at the cookie and go, ooh, I don't even want that anymore. And then it got to the point where I would walk by the cookie aisle in the grocery store and I wouldn't even be craving to grab a box of them anymore. And then I realized, and again, this was from the commitment, I had way more power over my mind just through the regulation of it. Co-regulating it in the moments changed everything. And the sugar addiction, yeah, do I still crave sugar? 100%. It's still there, but it's not anywhere close to controlling. Again, it's that 80-20 rule, where 20% of the time I can still give in. I can still drink a beer once in a while. I can still have pizza. I can still eat cookies, knowing that I have the tools in the right order and the resilience now that it won't creep back in and take over my nervous system. It tries to sometimes, but you just have to be diligent on the tools so that it doesn't happen. Does that answer that question?
It was great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great question, Ellen. Thank you. David, go ahead, please.
Oh, and it does take something, Alan, right? Because again, at that moment, your brain is used to getting the dopamine from the sugar and the glucose from the sugar. Now you're not going to be giving it that cookie or whatever it is that your go-to sugar is. It's going to get angry, potentially. And it's going to get a little louder. And the only thing that we need to do is keep committing to doing the tools as they're designed. And the brain, the average is about 2 to 3 weeks where the brain will let go of the thought. It'll finally get to the point where it's like, wait a minute, I'm actually okay. You're not triggered anymore when I give you the thought about the cookie. You're not giving me the cookie. I keep giving you the thought and you're not doing anything about it. So you're not feeding me. I guess I'm going to look for a different thought or just let it go completely. That's what you want.
Awesome. Thank you. David.
I get passionate about this stuff.
I see. Awesome.
I can so relate. When I was a kid, I was such a sugaraholic. And I have a funny story about after I moved out to Vancouver, my first trip back home, I gave my mom a key. And she didn't know what it was. And I said, the big freezer that you put all your baking in, I managed to make a copy of it just before she locked it. And I would skim cookies out of there and I would eat extra whenever we had company over because I was so addicted. And I would do anything in the world to have that sugar. And it wasn't until later when I was living in Vancouver that I changed my lifestyle. I got a mountain bike and I would crash with my energy after eating too much sugar. And I started changing my diet. And I noticed as soon as I got off the sugar, I wasn't going up and down emotionally through the day and all of that. And it really made a big difference in my ability to work consistently. Because I would treat myself to an O. Henry bar after I did a makeup on a shoot, and I'd just be like all over the place.
Yeah.
And once I figured that out, it was a really big game changer. I had more consistency, more drive to do other things. And then I was like, I hit that point. I was like, okay, I'm leaving. There's not enough going on. I'm going to move to Europe and pursue my dream. All of that getting off of sugar.
Yeah. Right. It's a powerful one to play with. That's why, again, in my program, the way it's designed, nutrition is one of the energy accelerators. It's one of the key pieces after you've got your nervous system functioning in an optimal way. There's so much you can do in the nutrition front that accelerates and enhances your experience in life. Because there's things that, again, the cultural norm idea, the things that we think are normal around nutrition are kind of crazy. And, an example of that is every time my kids go to a birthday party, I have to really control my stress response, because I get very upset. They're coming home with a bag of candy. It's like, wait a minute. Every time dinner comes to an end and my daughter says, hey, what are we having for dessert? I'm like, what are we talking about here? It's a little nutty that's what we have as our cultural norms. But I appreciate, David, what you're sharing, because there's a powerful result that you got from that experience that's important to acknowledge.
Yeah,
it's real. Awesome, guys. Thank you for having me today. I really appreciate it. If there's any more questions, for sure, I'm happy to stick
4 more
around.
minutes, and then Alan's got a question. I'm just putting a comment in here. We're coming to an end. Could each person just put something that an aha moment from just listening to Adam that I can copy and give it to you if you are leaving, since the sun hasn't even set in your sky, Adam. But yeah, if anybody just a comment about something that they got from tonight's Adam's talk. Go ahead, Alan, please.
Yeah, going back to the blue light filter, if we don't want to wear funky glasses like you're wearing right now,
yeah,
there's a setting on my computer that is a night light where it reduces the blue filter. Is that something that would achieve the same result?
Not exactly the same. It doesn't block the same amount, but for sure, there's programs you can use. I use one called Iris.
Okay.
Iris, IRIS, and it has a bunch of different features that you can. Some of them are pretty extreme, like the full-on blocking out. It's really hard to function properly. But yeah, there's different settings that you can use for your computer and your phone as well. Like, there's a hidden feature on, at least for Apple, for the iPhone, where you can set it so that you can click your phone 3 times, 1, 2, 3, and it turns the screen red. That's what you want in the morning and in the evening, right? And then you click it 3 times and it's white again. It's amazing. I mean, it's so subtle, but it's a massive difference in brain energy just by managing your circadian rhythm, your 24-hour light cycle. Some really beautiful things happen biologically when we do that. But yeah, if you don't want to wear the glasses, there's definitely some things that you can do, like having the app on the computer. Iris is the one I use. I think there's a few other ones. One's called Flux. I'm sure you have one, Alan, if you want to share it. Yeah, they're smart. I'm going to pop my email in there again, too. Again, if anybody wanted to come to when I launch the virtual events coming up next month, or wanted the one-on-one, there's my email for you. And I'm super grateful to have shared some energy with you guys.
Since he has to leave, and I just put one of your highlights from Adam's talk. Also, since we're accountable to each other, just what's one thing you're committing to in addition to the 2 minutes of breathing that I love, the 4-7. That in addition, what's something you're committing to? And while you're doing that, I know Stephen, a past speaker, will be presenting something for a few minutes. But can everybody put on their the reaction? Show a clap of hands. Can you guys all know how to do that? Thanks, Anita. Okay, come on, everybody has to clap your hands.
I love it. I'm reading all these, and these are great. Wayne, is it possible that I get a copy of the chat?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I want to just share energy with everybody who's sharing with these statements. I really appreciate the feedback too.
It's been a real pleasure, and I spoke to, I think, before 3 or 4 weeks ago, Adam, and I knew within seconds that you're an honest, authentic, passionate person. A lot of this is all new to me, so thank you for introducing it to me. Any final comments from anyone? Margaret, we haven't heard your voice yet. Anybody want to say what their aha was or what they're committed to before Adam takes off to the mountain? Jason, you're going to say something? Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to say, how you're able to so eloquently turn this into a simple process that really states in the moment. I think that was really critical and really key, because you're able to have that tool at your disposal, which I can't articulate it completely because I'm smiling as I'm saying it. It's just something that I've oh man, I've been trying to search for something in this regard. This is it just gives me a lot of hope, and I'm just really pumped to put this in action. So thanks, man. I really appreciate that.
That's great. Yeah, Jason, I appreciate that too. And make sure you email me so we can spend some more time together.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thanks, Ajantha, and then Jennifer.
Yeah, hi, Adam. Yeah, so I was actually on the same note from Jason. I love the authenticity of your experience, and it's always nice to see somebody who's gone through the struggles and coming out on top. And you showed us how not giving up, keeping focused, and there's always opportunity to improve and better yourself, and focus on your goals. You can still reach those goals. Nothing at all. So I think you gave us some additional tools, which has helped you and others as well. So which is refreshing to hear, and definitely I'm pumped to start using, because I have my own challenges. So I can't wait to use this technique and better my life as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Ajantha. I appreciate that.
Awesome.
And Wayne, I'll make sure I email you once we get off here. I'll email you the Heart Flow training.
Okay, thank you. And then Jennifer had the last question. Jennifer, go ahead, my friend.
Hi there. I'm hoping this works. I just wanted to say this was I thought I needed a kick. I thought I needed to snap out of something or be booted into some kind of new mood. I needed the opposite. I needed some regulation. I needed to come down and calm down. And this has widened my eyes, and I've got 12 pages of notes just of excitement of, maybe turning it into the opposite of, you don't have to beat yourself harder. You don't have to push yourself harder. You can probably get a lot more done when you come down. So I am so thankful for just getting walked through that. And the thought about hemp hearts, the last time I was fully regulated, I was jumping into athletics and rowing and working out and eating hemp hearts on every meal, every single day. So I'm going to go and buy them tomorrow. Awesome. I really appreciate it. Yeah, this is so helpful. Thanks again.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, and again, I'm happy to share more energy with anybody here who resonates with this message. And again, just send me an email, and we'll find a time to share more energy for sure.
Thanks again, Adam, for being here tonight. I know there's a good chance Adam will be taking this self-love course starting in 2 weeks, which, Adam, you'll hear more about that from me tomorrow.
Awesome.
Yes, so thank you. Has the sun set yet? No, I don't think so.
Not in my neck of the woods. Nope. I'm going to go take my doggy out for a walk now. And, thank you, guys. I really appreciate sharing energy with you.
You're the best. Thank you, Adam.
All right. Thanks, Wayne. I appreciate your invite.
Thanks, Adam.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Adam.
Awesome. Great.
Thank you, Adam.
Thank you, Adam.
Yeah.